Good evening, everyone. I hope you all had a fabulous holiday. Let's head into collectively rewilding. Ooh, it helps when it's already up for sure. And so here we are. Speaking of garden planning, I had a whole plan for tonight because I spent a good portion of today while everyone else was in the kitchen putting together microgreen trays and bowl, salad in a bowl, as I call it. I think there's a different term for it that other people use, but I don't know. I think of it as salad in a bowl, where you have several different salad-like greens that you're growing indoors to get little pieces of what would be a salad. They grow relatively quickly for some of them, and so you can pick off of them pretty quickly. And I have it all set up. It's all down here, and I was ready to show you guys, but it just doesn't work to come in on the computer on Zoom and on the phone on Zoom. And of course, I can't take my mounted phone or my mounted camera over to show you guys, but I put a little video together that you can take a peek at, and that's just the first part of it. We'll do another little video maybe tonight, but we'll see. It's of course a little bit late already. Later where all of you guys are than where I am, but late enough here. And so how about you guys? I doubt that it was out in the garden for you all. Did you get to go outside? How was the weather? Was it a nice holiday?
Well, it rained, so it's cool now.
Has it been hot still?
Well, it was until it rained.
Really? I can't imagine it being hot on Thanksgiving, right? Georgia temperatures just completely out of my frame of reference. Even in California, when I lived in LA, it was still cool in the winter time, late fall, you know?
Mhm.
Does it feel weird watching all of the seasonal activity that takes place everywhere else and not experiencing that? What does that feel like?
Well, hardly ever getting snow.
Just like, the Macy's Day Parade and people wearing their coats and just all these activities that you don't take part in. Does that make like having to put Christmas trees on palm trees, kind of a thought process? What does it feel like to be warm and in the holiday season? Does it feel excellent knowing you don't have to put up with it, or does it feel less holiday?
I guess I don't really think about it.
For us, it was pretty warm here today, right? Like I did that little video today out on the front porch, and I didn't even need a light jacket. To me, that's crazy on Thanksgiving. It just should be so much colder. Definitely, snow should be much beyond a threat, right? Like whether or not the precipitation has actually come, the weather should have been cold enough to have created snow if the rain was there, if the weather was there, right? And it just hasn't been. I still haven't been able to plant my grass seeds and my clover seeds because it's still too high of a risk of germination. I think this Saturday we're finally going to see a shift. Of course, this Saturday we're going to spend out in the main garden plot in the backyard that used to be the intended Wally Peony and rake the whole thing and get it leveled out to get ready to start putting in the gardenary installs, right? So, oh my goodness, so much work.
So I just don't really think about it. About,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't I don't typically look at other people and get jealous. I guess I'm not the jealous type.
And no, I wouldn't call it like, so when I was in California, right? I grew up in Colorado, kind of. I moved when I was just turning 10 to LA, Los Angeles County, not LA proper. And to me it was all LA, right? I was this little small town Colorado girl and I moved to this big place, and so to me it was all Los Angeles. I didn't find out until I was older that I didn't actually live in LA when I was a child. To me it's still kind of all LA because it's just city to city to city, which is what we actually have over in the Salt Lake Valley as well now. Much different from when I was traveling through and going to college up in Idaho. You would go from little patch of town to little patch of town to the tiny Salt Lake City, and then continuing to little patches of towns. But so much growth, right? That's just the reality of our today. And so, yeah, the loss of seasons hit me really hard. So I've always been really aware of it. You know what I mean? Have you ever gone on vacation to experience snow during the holidays? Did it change it for you, or just it's not a part that you care about for a holiday? It doesn't need that feel for a holiday.
Mm, I don't know. I've been on a cruise before and it was like super cold, and I was like, "Whoa, never been this cold before."
Did you go on like an Alaskan cruise or something?
No, it's just like just being over the ocean.
Mm,
The wind hits different, I guess, when you're standing outside.
it definitely does, right? And I was thinking about that. It's kind of funny. I don't remember having problems with my ears with the wind up in Wyoming too much, even though that's something I've dealt with all of my life. But here it happens so quick. My ears just get so cold and they can hurt so bad so easily. And of course, though it's windy here, it was much, much windier in Wyoming. So it really does matter where you're at when you're feeling those winds.
I think I like adjust if I go somewhere else in my
You do.
life.
You absolutely do. But I would definitely recommend if you ever do move somewhere cold, move there in a warmer part of the season so that you can adjust as the season changes. I've watched people move from really warm spots into colder spots and oof, it's it's rough, right? You want to try to go before September and after April. That's just my recommendation from somebody who's always been in a warm climate, right? And wear big coats. All right, guys. Well, I don't know. We don't have a ton to talk about. I had so much planned because, of course, we're not going to have a lot to talk about, but I can kind of just tell you what the whole idea is. I have what, uh, 6 trays set up for microgreens and 6 containers for salad in a bowl. Since there are 4 of us, one little bowl doesn't get us very far, right? But with 6 of them, we should be able to, once they're all going, get a decent little bit every day that are just fresh greens grown right here in the house. And then the microgreens and the sprouts, of course, are super easy. Just do that at the end with everything else. I'm going to wait on putting in the pieces for the salad in a bowl. I need to get some plates other than my kitchen plates to put under them for the planter water reservoirs, right? And I'm just going to run to the Dollar Tree and get some pretty winter plates since we're going to be doing this every year. And that way we can just keep reusing them. I don't really get the holiday plates. I get the summer plates and we use them the whole time. I can't help it. They're so beautiful. I love the bright, pretty flowers. So we just use that all year round. But I'll get some holiday plates for the winter indoor planters since we'll probably pretty much do this every year. And I know you were going to think about maybe doing that, Candace. Have you got plans for doing it, or is it still just kind of a talked about thought out there?
Yeah, I got plans for it when I get back into my shakes. I haven't gotten back into my shakes yet. Not
Mhm.
quite. But
I
when I,
guess after the holiday season, it'd probably be a little bit easier, right? We do it all the time. So introducing something from the house instead of from the grocery store is going to be a really nice change to our diet, but it's not going to be a change really in overall components. Does that make sense?
hmm
Hmm. I find that's an easier way to incorporate real foods, whole foods into our diets is simply to use them more than you have other foods in your house, right? We have a little bit. We have some granola bars and some cereals and a little bit of chips. Of course, crackers. I don't make homemade crackers. I would love to. I have never had the time to make homemade crackers. That's kind of going to have to be either a fun project or something that, oh my gosh, the stuff really did hit the fan and we have to figure out how to make some crackers or we're not going to eat crackers, right? However, we eat primarily meat, raw vegetables and fruits, some canned fruits and vegetables, stuff like that. And it's just constant instead of having like a specialty type of way of incorporating different things in our diet. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Hopefully, if we all get to gardening again next year, then we will uh, have that option coming right out of our own gardens, right? And if you start doing the sprouts again, that's something that we could do. I got all of your reports done. I'm not sure if you guys all saw them, and I think that, let's see, we have Benny and Candace were here. Was it you as well, Candace? I can't remember. We did Jacqueline and Tammy. I have their reports, so we can take a peek at those. Let's see, what would be the quickest way? Hop over here probably. So this is what I put together so that we could take in a glance what our different seasons are to move to the next level with the little boxes, right? Actually, just go ahead and pull up another one here. I had one when I was working on everybody's report, but I put it away. So pull that up, and let's start with Benny since he can join in with his voice, and he so often kind of gets, oh wait, you know what? I don't need a doc or a sheet. I mean, I need a doc. That's where the full report is. There we have them right there at the top. All right. And so here is your report, Benny. And it's pretty easy to take in if there aren't a bunch of toolbars all over it, right? You have cold season starting really at the end of next month. And of course, you're in that cool period, but we weren't quite ready for all of us to take advantage of it. That's why we're going to start off officially in January and just make sure next year is our easiest and most successful year, right? And then your cold will start next month all the way through March. Yours is a little bit longer than anyone else's, including myself. We may even have a warming period towards the end of February here, definitely towards middle of March. That's where I want to have put all my seeds in for the seedlings that I'll plant like the 1st of June. And you are still slightly warm only in June, right? You don't really get to full warm, and you still have slight cooling. Oh wait, nope, 1 month wrong there. June, yeah, warm with slight cooling, and warm for July, no hot period for you, and you go right back into slight cooling. So you do have 3 months here, but they're tight, right? You've got to be on your seasons or you're going to struggle. So you definitely want to have things that start your season a little bit earlier if you can, like covers and things like that for frost. Not really for any kind of heat protection. You're not worried about those kind of covers, right? I'm guessing you would almost never reach above 85, 90 tops.
Like, yeah, most of the time we don't. Like, unless it's one of those like how they call it, like those heat waves. But for the most part, in the 80s, 90s tops.
That is completely different than my experience. And so you definitely have those cold periods where you aren't going to be growing outside, but you can extend it pretty good. You can still get some of your plants in the beginning of April for your larger plants that you started as seedlings. So for myself, I'd start my seedlings maybe the end of February, beginning of March, and be ready to put them in certainly by the 1st of June, maybe a little bit earlier, just kind of playing it by each season. We do have more extreme weather, of course, so when it should be that I always have to start at like March 21st in my indoor seedlings to start them to put in about June 1st, we can probably walk that back a little bit, especially if I have like protective covering. In your area, you're going to have to be even more cautious. So to put yours in, you'll want to start, if it's about probably mid-February would be a good time for you to start your bigger cool season plants. So like broccolis or cauliflowers, something like that. you would want to start it about mid-February. And then right in there when it's starting to tend, let's see, let me just pull up the overall chart here really quickly. Once you've stopped going down to about freezing, when you are staying steady at around 35 at night, then that's when you can go ahead and put in carrot seeds and radishes and things like that. And so that's what we're going to work on at the next level. When we do go to these boxes, let's go ahead and bring it out for us. I wasn't intending to talk about this, but it's a great thing to talk about. And I'll have to get some examples made up that aren't in my little notebook, right? But so, as Miss Tammy always is telling me, here is the box that we're going to fill out for your next part of your report, right? And we'll work on one of them during Monday's class. And so we covered bennies now. We'll probably go on to, let's see, it would be Kindez, right? Oh, our two guys, they start off with the alphabet a little bit earlier than our ladies. Oh, wait, no, because I'm thinking Jacqueline, actually. So if Jacqueline is with us, we will go over Jacqueline's, otherwise we'll go over Kindez, right? And so that's what we'll put together in your little boxes, is that kind of a statement for each month. February, you're wanting to put in your larger seedlings, broccolis and cauliflower as an example. And then April 1st, especially if you have those protective covers, you're looking to when you can put those seedlings into the ground and put out things like carrots and radishes actually sown right into your planters, right?
Yeah, like the New England weather is usually unpredictable too.
It is. And so that's why those covers are so important for you. You don't have to worry about two kinds. Here, to extend my seasons, I don't have to, but it's nice to make them go a little earlier and a little later. So I do want the frost covers, but I absolutely have to think about the shade and the protection from the extreme heat that we experience over here, right? And it's nothing to so much of the West, but it gets hot enough to want to do something to protect the plants, right?
Yeah, for example, like last night, it just felt really humid. It was actually mosquitoes out. That's how like humid it was outside last night.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like a mixture of the cold but the humidity.
That's wild.
Yeah, the highest today was like I think 54. The lowest in the 30s tonight.
And so how high was it last night when you were seeing these mosquitoes?
I think it was just about like maybe I think it was the highest. I think it went close to 60.
Wow. Yeah. That's a big variance.
Yeah.
Those are unpleasant. They make me feel kind of yucky. I'm hoping that you don't experience that as much. Maybe you're a little more used to it.
Yeah, I think I'm just used to it. Like, but that's the thing. Like, one day could be humid, then the other day just like the humidity level drops.
Well, it's almost never very humid here, right? Well, even when we get our rain, well, our dew point will go up. We have our rain. It sits there for a second and then starts immediately going down.
Oh, and I noticed that my last name is Arce.
Oh, did I spell it wrong? I apologize. Let's correct that
Well,
right now.
there you
How do
go.
you pronounce it? I can finally, oh my God, I probably wanted to ask you that for what, like over a year.
Yeah, so I pronounce it Arce, like, cause it's more like when you're saying that, with the Spanish accent. But if you're doing it just something like a regular accent, you could say Arce.
Okay, Arce. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Arce.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Oh my gosh, you have no idea. You do have an idea. I've talked to you about it. We're like, oh my gosh, Benny, I wish I could ask you how to say your last name. That's so funny. That's wonderful. Okay, we have it. We finally know. It's anticlimactic. We've wanted to know for so long, right? Thank you. But yes, so this is what we'll do going forward. This is how everybody's report looks so far. You have just the basics. Then we'll put together, I'll have this ready for Monday. And in fact, I need to write up a template. Garden task planner. All right, and I think that this format, right, we don't need to see it really closely. This format really helped my mind to see the big picture, because when you see this here, you know, it's all great and everything, and it can do it if these singular lines to your brain equate the actions. But for most of us, seeing it as a task list is so useful. And that's what this will basically be. So if you're going to be putting in your seeds for indoor, start, right, your seedling in maybe the middle of February, excuse me, and then you put everything into the ground April 1st, then you're looking for tending for that next month. You're going to just kind of keep everything nice, pull off any yucky leaves or anything like that. And then boom, you're going to go into harvest at the same time, right? Because you're getting ready to slightly, yours is going to be fast. So in June is where you're going to be definitely harvesting, some maybe towards the end of May. And then that's when we want to put in our warm weather plants, right? And so to start your warm weather plants, as you're putting these into the ground, you're taking everything out of your little transplant setup. Go ahead and start your indoor transplants for things like watermelons or tomatoes or peppers or potatoes, right? No, I think potatoes and sweet potatoes are actually, you want to put those maybe even in the ground in the fall. They are kind of a warm weather crop, but they like it. So let's walk back from that one. We'll research it in its right time. I've done it before. I've grown sweet potatoes and I've grown potatoes, but oh my gosh, it's been a couple of years and I want to talk about that as a topic, right? And so go ahead.
One time and like nothing grew.
What's that? Say it again. I'm sorry.
So we tried to grow some potatoes in the ground. I forgot when it was, if it was like around the summertime or when it wasn't. But like it was a failed experiment.
Did you put it into a hill of dirt?
Yeah, I think it was on a little hill.
You want to put it in a pretty good size hill. You're talking, you know, maybe something even this tall or taller. So it's a good size mound that you want to put up a sweet potato or a potato. I'm pretty sure a yam as well. I think it was yams that we grew. We either grew potatoes and sweet potatoes or potatoes and yams. I can't remember. But yeah, they need that hill. We actually grew them in bags of soil, and that works as well, right? To have that airflow. It's different when your ground is flat to when your ground is raised up for a lot of different reasons. The drainage, the air getting into all of it, the warmth of the soil, right? There's a lot of reasons why plants like hills. And so you want a pretty good sized mound when you're trying to go with potatoes or sweet potatoes. Since you talked about it as well, let's just take a quick peek. I believe they're all pretty comparable. Sweet potatoes, potatoes, and yams. Sweet potatoes and yams is mid to late spring. In northern spring, so you know, yeah, relatively, or you can plant in late fall or early winter. And so interestingly enough, when I read about it, I was reading about it being in an area that was more towards the eastern side of the coast, and they planted in the late fall like that. So I wouldn't want to do that necessarily here in Utah. I'd rather do that in the spring like you would with sweet potatoes and yams. And so, yeah, there you go, guys. The optimal time to plant with sweet potatoes and yams is in mid to late spring, after all danger of frost has passed. For regular potatoes, the planting time depends on your climate. In northern states, plant from March to early May, or over here, like it's getting colder, right? While in warmer southern areas, you can plant in late fall or early winter. Though with as warm as these winters are getting here, like I said, I was out today without even a light jacket. It's kind of starting to be a little bit like that here as well. So yeah, well, how big do you think your mound was when you planted yours, Penny?
I don't think it was too big because it was like near then the side of the house, but towards the front, like going like towards the front yard.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like kind of like near like these rocks that kind of like separate like our house and the neighbor's house. So it was like kind of like more like towards the trees.
And they do like full sun, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so yeah, big, good size mound. Not huge, nothing untoward, but you know, maybe 2 foot tall at the high point, 1.5 foot tall, with the same kind of a circumference. A good size mound will really make a big difference for your potatoes. Oh my goodness, you guys, excuse me. Still, the quitting smoking, it's messing with that, but I can tell how much better it really has been. So hope you guys are keeping up with that. Sorry, everything got so crazy with all of the weekly classes this week, but I hope you guys are doing well with that. So, all right, guys. Well, anything else that you want to throw out there? Anybody want to go over, or Ken does? Do you want to go over your report? We don't have one for. Oh goodness, where did my thing go? We don't have one for Miss Candace, but would you like to have one made, Miss Candace? And I know sometimes she can't talk, guys, so she might not be able to talk right now. But we can definitely talk about that another time. So.
Yeah, I'm definitely down.
All right. Well, let's check it out real quick. Where we are now.
Up for it.
Oh, that's right. We're right here. Okay. And so here we have yours, Mr. Kendez. And it is much different, right? Let's see, get these toolbars out of the way again. You have a very nice set of growing conditions. You do get hot, but not any more than we do here, right? Maybe you get higher or these kinds of things. You definitely have more humidity to deal with, but you don't really go into that cold period very much. So with your cool weather plants, you could probably grow cool weather plants through, let's try this from the other direction here. You can start thinking about putting your plants into the ground for cool weather around the end of October, beginning of November, and go through to March. So you have a solid 5 months that you can be doing it with some slight covering, possibly in January, right? But I would say it's quite probable that you could garden through the whole year and have 2 full seasons for cool weather plants. So if you planned it out to have 2 full seasons, what you would do would be to have your plants in the indoors because it's too hot outside still, right? So you have to still start them indoors, even though it's not too cold, it's too hot. So you want to start those cooler weather plants indoors, find the coolest spot in your house to get them started. And you would start right around probably the beginning, middle of September. And towards the 1st of November, be putting them into the ground and your seeds along with them for things like carrots and stuff, right? And so then you would turn right back around, and a couple of months later, you would want to start that process over. So about when you're putting them into a ground, maybe in a little bit later, maybe like a month later, you start your seeds in the ground or indoors, really, at that point. As long as you've got it all set up, you could start them outdoors just as easily as indoors, unless it's something that really doesn't like to be started outside for whatever weird particular reason, right? So you wouldn't need to start even your larger plants indoors for your second round. then you can do all of them. You can still even get the hotter weather plants like eggplant and things because you do go to a full hot season. Benny might have a little bit of trouble getting his to go very productive for something like an eggplant or a tomatillo, right? I think a tomatillo is along with an eggplant. I know there are several plants that go into that hot season that really need a hotter period to get to full productivity. And that's 85 plus. And so that might be a difficulty for Benny in some seasons, but you have pretty well all of them. And you don't even have to grow indoors in your cold season. It looks like just have a little bit of covering just in case, right?
So basically like 6 months of hot weather plants and 6 months of cold.
No, 6 months of cool weather and 6 months of warm weather. You have 3 months for your hot weather plants. So yes, you could probably get 2 seasons for your hot or for your cool weather and your warm weather. You could do 2 rounds and then 1 round for your hot weather plants like eggplant.
Cool.
Boy, would you be a busy bee.
Yeah.
You could do it. And so if you really are realistic about what you put in the ground, what you will use, what you and your family and your friends and the people that you want to participate with will use, you probably could do that. So you could have 5 seasons every year for you. That's pretty wild.
So would I like stagger them?
Yes, you would. And you'll get a lot more clarity around that staggering when we fill out these boxes. Okay. Cool. And so we'll probably go ahead and do that live for several of these reports because it took me, I had 3 tries before I got it right for here. I had to keep thinking about it on a graph like this, on a spreadsheet format like this, and then taking it to the writing, and then I'd write it and I'd think, but that's wrong. And then I'd look at it again and think, okay, but that's not really what it says. And I'd do it again. And then sure enough, I needed to go back to the drawing board one more time. So I did it 3 rounds. And so it might take us a couple of rounds to get some of these. We all are in different temperatures and I'm learning this system. So it's going to be this process of working it out to get it right. But we'll do something so that we can do it on the computer. So I don't have to try to write it out longhand for each of us 3 times. But the first time I like to do it with a pen and paper. It's proven scientific fact that it does things for all of our brains and increases our ability to intake, learn, and retain anything that we read on a piece of paper and with a written instrument instead of a typed instrument. So I really find that almost necessity. So while I think it definitely improves all of our learning capabilities, I think for some of us, it's just almost not really learned if we don't touch it like that. Whereas there are those of us who have grown up even more in a digital age, and that may not be quite so much the case, right? So that's where we all try to bring each element into these classes that each one of us will best learn from, right? And so
would it be the same like if you was to like physically read a book aside from like reading like an ebook?
Yes, exactly. If you read the physical paper as opposed to a screen, you will understand the material better, you will retain it better, and you will be able to utilize it in your daily life on an even more strengthened level. I print everything. Can you tell? I love the printed written word. I'm a little bit obsessed. Just barely.
I have a lot of books, but I got to try to get me a bookcase to put all the books away.
That is a big thing, right? And something that we've worked at getting more and more of over the years. I still have books in storage at home in Colorado in boxes, right? And we have books in every room in the house except the bathrooms, right? Well, technically the kitchen books are in the hallway because we have a nice little thing that we can put them on, but there are kitchen books as well. Yes, lots and lots of recipe books.
Nice.
All right, guys. Well, super good get together, I think. Even though it didn't work out as planned, I will definitely show you guys what I have set up over here. I just won't be able to bring you along in the same way as I had hoped to kind of do a dual setup there. I used to do that when I would live stream while I was advocating for different causes. but I was able to keep the screen in another room while I would go back and forth between, and this is all in one room. So I didn't think it through quite all the way. It's been too long since I've done it, and we'll have to get that material out there to you guys in a different way. So sorry about that, but let's jump into our calendar, and I do hope you guys check it out and come along with us and play with some soil in the cooler months. Getting used to a pattern of doing this will help you when you go into the warmer months and you're trying to have a pattern out there. And it'll also test your time abilities around it. Where do you find the time? If it's smaller and you struggle with it, you know you don't want to do a large effort this first year, right? If you're just gung-ho as you get started and you just love it and you're doing it like I am and you have a ton of different trades going on, then maybe you want to start with a little bit bigger garden. Even for what we're doing back here, we may go full potager style, and we'll talk about that when we get into our kitchen garden revival book, but we're only going to start with one planter, maybe two planters at a time. Even if we build all four of them, we're not going to work with all four of them at once because there are so many components that have to be put in that we have to work with time and money to make it all come together, right? And so what that means is getting it leveled, then putting in the mulch, and yes, a little bit of gravel under each area where each bed will be. And that entails tacking out the different planned places for the beds so that you can physically see what they look like and see that area, and then lay the gravel where those beds are going to be. And then you have all of your walkways that you're going to be putting in, and even the borders outside of it, right? And we're going to do something really large because we're doing it as a business, as a garden that we've wanted for, you know, my entire life, really probably my husband's entire life, and certainly our dreams together now for almost 20 years. So we're doing something at a big level, but nobody needs to start at a big level. And truly, truly, it is much better to start smaller than larger, which was why I was just talking to Jay last night about the fact that I only want to actually start with one or two. We need to get all of the pieces put together in a certain order, and we'll talk more and more about that as we go. But getting your toes wet with these little pieces, these little projects, if you're able to, really will help you determine how much time you want to put in outside, which to help then to determine what your size commitment should be as well, right? So I heavily encourage you to jump in with us. As you'll see, if you go by Collectively Rewilding here or on YouTube, you can check out the video where we put them together, and we didn't buy anything extra. These were pieces that we already had here in the house. I did have to buy the components of the soil because I used the Gardenary Preferred Mix, I think it's the 103 blend, 301, 103, I think it's 103 blend. I'm telling you guys, when that camera is rolling, if you didn't plan to say it, it will wipe it from your brain. But anyway, it's three components. It's compost, topsoil, and coarse sand. Being the end of the year, I was only able to get the specific components the way that I did. They're really close. They're going to be great. I'm not worried about it a bit, but come check that out. See that it's not that difficult to get it started. Don't do as many as I did. Do even more. Do you, but come and join in and see what it's all about. And this Saturday will be our next class with Tea and Talk with Tammy, and she's on the same track, you guys. I think I've got a lot going on. That lady's got a tent as big as what my little desk area here is, ready and raring to go. So she's definitely going to be going along that same track. And we'll see what she's up to this this Sunday, November 30th at 12 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 1 o'clock p.m. Mountain, 2 o'clock p.m. Central, and 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern. And again, that's Sunday, not Saturday, Sunday the 30th. And I will be back again with you that same Sunday, the 30th, for a Yarn Yard for Tall Tales. And that will be at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 Mountain, 9:30 Central and 10:30 Eastern. All right, everyone. Please feel free to unmute your mics and say goodnight. Happy holidays as well.
Bye. Happy.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy your weekend. Hope to see you all.